We know he's had tough fights. He's had a couple of tough fights. But, dude, he's so goddamn good. He's so protected. He knows where to be and where not to be. He's so composed. Like, look at that. Look at that movement. Look how he moves away from everything. So you're punching at air, and you're still threatening, but you're not really hitting him, and he's making you throw punches. And occasionally you clip him with a shot as he's moving away, and he rolls with a lot of shit.
But the three guys that everyone talks about are you, Alexander Usyk, and Terence Crawford. Where do you rank yourself amongst the three in the pound-for-pound conversation?
まあでもいつでも自分が一番だと思ってやってますから。
But the three guys that everyone talks about are you, Alexander Usyk, and Terence Crawford. Where do you rank yourself amongst the three in the pound-for-pound conversation?
まあでもいつでも自分が一番だと思ってやってますから。
Throwing uppercuts, hooks, all kind of shit. Man, Inoue impressed the hell out of me, man. For real. He had just enough, like, risk, just enough risk.
まあでもいつでも自分が一番だと思ってやってますから。
Throwing uppercuts, hooks, all kind of shit. Man, Inoue impressed the hell out of me, man. For real. He had just enough, like, risk.
一番だと思ってやってますから。
Throwing uppercuts, hooks, all kind of shit. Man, Inoue impressed the hell out of me, man. For real. He had just enough, like, risk, just enough defense. Throwing uppercuts, hooks, all kind of shit. Man, Inoue impressed the hell out of me, man. For real. He had just enough, like, risk, just enough defense. He had that speed, he had that power, and just the way he was dicing. For real. He had just enough, like, risk, just enough defense. He had that speed, he had that power, and just the way he was dissecting his tall opponent and took his jab, his best punch away from him, his jab away from him. He wasn't able to land his jab or play, with the range with that jab and lower in a way because he was just too damn smart. My gosh, man.
Everybody knows Inoue has been through hard fights. He's taken punches, been tested under pressure, and faced elite champions. But what separates him from almost everyone else in boxing is how calm he stays when chaos starts. Even during dangerous exchanges, he never looks panicked. His positioning, timing, and awareness are on another level. Opponents throw combinations at him and somehow end up punching nothing but air while Inoue slides away by inches, still close enough to threaten with counters. Many fans compare him to pound-for-pound kings like Alexander Usyk and Terence Crawford, but there are growing voices claiming Inoue belongs above them all. Analysts point...
Yeah, the power that he possesses, but it's not a thumping power, it's that explosive speed, that explosive power, the footwork he gets in position. And
fast as lightning.
Yeah, the power that he possesses, but it's not a thumping power, it's that explosive speed, that explosive power, the footwork the power that he possesses, but it's not a thumping power. Yeah, the power that he possesses,
lightning.
Yeah, the power that he possesses, but it's not a thumping power, it's that explosive speed, that explosive power, the footwork he gets in position, and all of a sudden he's landed 3, 4, 5 shots and then he's angled
You
up.
are a very ferocious fighter in the ring. When did you realize that you had this like supreme power?
まあパワーではなくて、当てる能力というか。
Look at this guy. He's the best. Really, he's the best. All fighters should be like him.
みんな選手が彼のようだったらいい。
What makes him so good, Bob?
Well, look, athletes, they're good athletes, and they're great athletes. No question he's a great athlete. But the fact that he's trained the way he has, and the discipline that he has, and the fact that he is always polite and open to people, that really goes back to his culture. And the Japanese culture, particularly as he has acquired it, is certainly remarkable. And it's a real object lesson to all of our athletes in the West. You know, seeing any fighter in the lighter weight divisions, from featherweight below, like him. I mean, they've been great, great, great fighters, great boxers, you know, they've been, you know, really top people. But there's nobody that has the consistency that he has, where he not only defeats his opponent, but he knocks them out. We've never, ever seen that in the whole history of boxing.
Watch his movement closely and it becomes obvious why fighters struggle so badly against him. He doesn't just avoid shots, he controls where the fight takes place. Every step has a purpose. Every angle forces opponents to reset. While they're chasing him, he's already preparing the next attack.
Intelligent in terms of his overall strategy to preserve his health yet to always win. I mean, he's the most intelligent. He's so good. You know, all the greats have suffered losses and setbacks, and except him.
Yeah.
Former champion Timothy Bradley called Inoue a once-in-a-generation legend and argued that he deserves the #1 pound-for-pound spot in the sport. Bradley pointed out that Inoue was already fighting world title bouts after only a handful of professional fights, something almost unheard of in modern boxing.
Man, I'm telling y'all, this dude is this dude ain't no joke. This dude is a legend, straight up legend. Will be remembered forever. You will hear Inoue's name, man. Ain't nobody done it like him, man. Ain't nobody done it like him. I know some people might say Crawford and all of that, but man, this dude has fought world championship fights since he had 7 professional fights. Come on. 7 professional fights. God, he #1 pound for pound in the game, period. He #1. He outdid Usyk. Yeah, he outdid Usyk. He is #1 pound for pound. Everybody needs to make him #1 pound for pound in the game. Damn, did y'all see Inoue's greatness? Ooh, man. Inoue is something else. Inoue something. He the truth. I'm telling y'all, he is the truth. The truth, man. Look, it all started up front. Up front. I mean, we sitting up here and we saying that Nakatani the fencing master. Shit, he wasn't the fencing master in this fight. No. Inoue was getting his jab in, boy. Woo. Splitting that guard. Shit, he was taking full advantage of Nakatani, bringing that lead hand down low. Coming, and every time he'll put it up top, and then he'll come and squeeze this jab underneath. Boy, that jab was cold from Inoue. Putting his foot on the inside to land that jab, outside to land that jab. He was varying that shit, boy. Woo, he mastered. Inoue has mastered the southpaw style. Boy, bring your...
Legendary promoter Bob Arum went even further, saying he has never seen anyone from the lighter weight divisions dominate like Inoue does. Arum praised not only his athletic ability, but also his discipline, professionalism, and mentality. In his eyes,
he's still a great fighter. Hell yeah, still dangerous, still the best pound for pound fighter. Yes, because he's taking those challenges. I put him as #1 right now because of the challenges that he's willing to take.
According to Inoue himself, his success comes from precision and intelligence more than brute strength. He studies opponents carefully, selects punches with purpose, and breaks fighters down mentally before finishing them physically. That's why so many world-class opponents end up looking ordinary.
Great, I can definitely say that. I think that's undisputed, right? Like there's no argument you can make for him not being an all-time great. I just don't know where, because top 15, it feels like a jump to be like top 15 ever. But is it? Is it a jump to say that? I don't want to be a victim of recency bias, but he is so damn good that it might make sense to put him there. But I don't know, because then you have to go through the history of the Marcus of Queensberry and how many good fighters there were and the competition they faced versus what he's faced, even if they weren't moving divisions as much as he was, and if they were moving divisions, I don't know. I don't know. He is an all-time great, though. And if he were to call it quits tomorrow, he would be one of the best to have ever participated in this sport. Where that would rank and where he would rank and all that, no idea.
That's one reason fans admire him so much. He never waited around protecting a perfect record. He moved aggressively through weight classes, accepted dangerous opponents, and kept chasing bigger challenges. Trainer Robert Garcia praised Inoue for exactly that reason, saying true greatness comes from taking risks against elite competition instead of avoiding it. And then came the massive showdown with Junto Nakatani, a fight many believed would finally expose weaknesses in Inoue's game. Instead, the fight showed exactly why he's considered special. Even critics who usually avoid exaggeration admit there's something special about him. Some fighters become champions through toughness. Others rely on power. Some survive through defense. Inoue somehow combines all of it together.
Naoya Inoue, save boxing is what I say. When he fights, we get boxing saved for a night, because I don't know, it just feels like the tribalism, the pomp and frill of just arguing to argue gets stripped away from the sport, and we all just gather around the TV to enjoy watching him fight. Like, he doesn't have a controversial bone in his body. He's not on Twitter like having a hate mob or anything like that. People just genuinely like watching the dude fight. And he's unique in that way. I think him and Usyk are kind of unique in that way, where they just have fans. We just like watching you fight, because every time you fight, we're treated to a performance that we can look back on and go, man, I remember watching him fight so-and-so. I remember watching him drop the right hand. I remember Usyk dropping the left hand on Daniel Dubois, or Usyk dominating Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury. Inoue going toe-to-toe and then giving it back to Nonito Donaire, one of the fiercest punchers in the lower weight classes.
Joe Rogan described Inoue's style perfectly. He explained that Inoue's power isn't the slow, heavy type that depends on one punch. It's explosive speed mixed with perfect footwork and positioning. 1 second he's outside range, the next second he's landed 4 clean punches and disappeared at an angle before opponents can react. That's what makes him terrifying. You don't even realize you're in danger until he's already scoring combinations. That's why many compare his impact to Alexander Usyk. Both fighters seem to unite boxing fans instead of dividing them. When they fight, arguments disappear for a few hours and everyone just watches elite craftsmanship.
Danger on the other side. I mean, all the fights that he's had previously, none of those opponents come close to the quality that's in front of him, both in terms of skill and hitting power. So he's being cautious for a reason. Like I say, you make one mistake, then you could be in trouble. I just felt it was a touch. There's cautious and there's overly cautious, and that's ultimately, I think he was overly cautious in the early rounds. So that the reason was, I mean, I spoke to Rudy Hernandez down in this lobby about 10 minutes ago, and he said, look, you can't go in there guns blazing. I know he's got very good timing. You know, you make one mistake and it could be your last. So I get it, but that ultimately has led to him losing the decision.
Would you want to see it again?
There's not, to be honest, it's close enough to where I think it merits a rematch, right? I definitely think it was close enough, but there's not a lot of talk about it, Lewis, to be honest. I mean, there was no mention of it at the press conference.
What makes that statement so powerful is boxing history itself. Lower weight divisions have produced incredible legends over the years, but very few consistently destroy elite opposition the way Inoue has. It's not just that he wins, it's how he wins. He breaks opponents down with ruthless efficiency and often finishes them in dramatic fashion. Early in the matchup, Inoue controlled the lead hand battle brilliantly. Despite Nakatani's reach and dangerous southpaw style, Inoue constantly beat him to the jab. He mixed angles beautifully, stepping inside and outside while
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. He said that he was going to take a break after this fight, so I don't think we're going to see him until the very end of this year or the beginning of next, conceivably. He's had 5 fights in about 16 months. I can understand him wanting a rest. He's 33 years old. He's not far off the point where you're calling him a veteran now, and his body needs time to rest. And you can take time out and, you know, recharge the batteries. He might come back rejuvenated, be an even better fighter than he's been in his last 2 or 3 fights. But he's also had, you know, a huge amount of training camps, and he's gone 12 tough rounds in this fight and in the two fights prior. So, recharge the batteries, understand it. We'll miss him, but I think he needs a rest, and I can understand him wanting more.
What shocked many observers was how patient Inoue fought during the first half. He wasn't recklessly hunting knockouts. He was reading reactions, collecting information, and slowly taking control of distance. His accuracy and timing allowed him to bank rounds without taking unnecessary punishment. At the same time, Nakatani's caution revealed just how dangerous Inoue really is. Trainers and analysts later explained that one mistake against Inoue can completely change a fight. That fear forced Nakatani to hesitate.
There were clear rounds in my opinion for Inoue. And I think the thing that maybe surprised some people, I wouldn't say it surprised me, but I found interesting about it, was that Inoue did dominate that lead hand battle. Nakatani really struggled to find a home for the lead hand, which you would think would be strange because he is a lot longer than Inoue, but it's just the feet of Inoue. He's just so quick, so hard to read when he's bouncing in and out, and he really controlled the range, the distance. The timing was all in Inoue's favor through the first half of the fight. Nakatani did struggle to get that timing and that rhythm down. And it was interesting, when asked about the start of the fight afterwards, Nakatani said that he didn't want to reveal too much of what he had to Inoue too early because he knows that Inoue learns and adapts very, very quickly in the ring. As I mentioned before, in all those fights where Inoue had been knocked down by guys, he instantly would adapt. He'd find the solution to that knockdown very, very quickly, and then he'd go on to absolutely dominate and stop all the guys that knocked him down. This was obviously something that they'd spoken about in the Nakatani camp. Don't give him too much too early and then press him later.
Round 11 became one of the most important rounds of the fight. With pressure building, Inoue responded like a true champion. He used feints, movement, and sharp counters to regain control exactly when he needed it most. That ability to adjust mid-fight has become one of the defining traits of his career. By the championship rounds, both fighters were exhausted but still producing elite-level exchanges. Nakatani finished strong and won respect.
That Inoue's getting a bit older and slowing down. I think it's the former personally. There was moments in there where, Inoue was kind of stopping in front of him, squaring up a bit. He wasn't quite as bouncy with his feet. And that was when Nakatani was going through the motions. He was punching as he moved. He was getting angles. He was getting his head off the center line. For both men, I felt later on in the fight, counters were starting to work better because they were both simply throwing more. But for me, it was when Nakatani was getting close, letting those bent arm shots go, the uppercuts, the straight left hand, the overhand left, he started to get into play a lot more. And it was in particular the right hook around the guard of Inoue that I thought he was having good effect with. The lead foot battle was, again, it was there to see throughout the fight, and whoever had their foot to the outside typically was doing well. Early on in the fight, Inoue was going up the middle channel, up the outside channel, he was mixing it. It was very, very hard for Nakatani to read and time. But Nakatani then started to be doing the same thing later on in the fight as Inoue's feet had slowed down a little bit. I think the willingness to go through the phases later in the fight for Nakatani, press Inoue back to the ropes and get to work, it's a hard one because if he does it earlier in the fight, maybe he gets countered and gets hurt really badly. Perhaps he did it at the earliest possible moment for all we know, but he certainly did it to instruction, I'll say that.
The fight also sparked larger debates about Inoue's historical standing. Some analysts believe he already belongs among boxing's all-time greats. Others argue comparing eras is nearly impossible because boxing history stretches back generations with completely different competition and conditions. But almost everyone agrees on one thing: if Inoue retired tomorrow, his legacy would already be legendary. As the fight moved into the later rounds, momentum began shifting slightly. Nakatani started throwing more combinations, pressing forward, and landing sharper counters. Some observers noticed Inoue wasn't quite as light on his feet late in the fight, possibly a sign of fatigue after years of non-stop wars and training camps. Still, even while tired, Inoue's composure never disappeared.
And Nakatani wins these last two rounds, we have a very close fight. Inoue boxed brilliantly in that 11th round. You could see by the end he was tired. He was looking up at the clock at times, which is normally a sign of a fighter who is feeling it a bit. He was wasting a bit of energy, I felt, in there, Naoya Inoue. He was moving, he was fainting, he was, the up and down, the bobbing and weaving and stuff like that. Sometimes he was doing it excessively. I felt personally that maybe he didn't need to be quite doing it as much as he was, and I think maybe that's why he's 33 years old. I mean, it's not old, but for a guy at super bantamweight, normally that's the age where you start to see a bit of a decline. Not like heavyweight where you could say he's coming into his prime. It's very different, very, very different. He won the 11th round. Nakatani goes out in the 12th round, lets the shots go, doesn't get rid of Inoue, but he wins that round for me. And that was the 4th round that I gave him. So I had an 8-4 in climb with 2 of the judges. One of the other judges, I suspect he gave Nakatani round 3, because you probably could have, maybe, I didn't personally, but you could probably edge him in that round. Having said that, it was a good.
Analysts also highlighted how quickly Inoue adapts whenever he faces adversity. In previous fights, even when opponents managed to hurt or drop him, he immediately found solutions and came back stronger. Teams now enter fights knowing they must hide strategies from him early because he learns patterns unbelievably fast once he gathers information. When boxing fans talk about the greatest fighters alive today, one name keeps dominating the conversation: Naoya Inoue. Whether it's analysts, former champions, or commentators like Joe Rogan, the praise sounds almost unreal. But after another masterclass performance, people are starting to believe the hype isn't hype at all. It's reality.
For me, is the greatest fighter to come out of Japan. His dad, everything, the team are just phenomenal. The event looked phenomenal. Japan is somewhere Tokyo in particular, is somewhere I am desperate to see. It's on the list of countries I want to visit. And I think this was a great advertisement for it. I really, really do. I think Nakatani is going to wish he'd started earlier, because I think that there was rounds he lost early on that he could have won if he'd have been a bit more aggressive. So it's something to learn, but Inoue is just that guy. I don't understand these people who act like, because Inoue is not, he's had fights in the States, but because he's not had, the big fights in the States, well, he's making that much money that fighters from the States actually go over there because they know they're going to get well paid. He's one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen. He is phenomenally talented. He really can decide what he wants to do.
And after another elite performance against Junto Nakatani, the conversation is growing louder than ever. Maybe